Canned foods are widely regarded as dependable for long-term storage, yet not every product remains stable over the years. Recent updates on recalls and safety warnings have revealed that certain canned goods spoil much sooner than most people expect. Items that include dairy, oils, or acidic bases often deteriorate earlier than the expiration label suggests. In fact, the can you were counting on may be unusable when you need it the most. First, evaporated milk. Evaporated milk is often considered a trustworthy pantry essential thanks to its creamy texture and long shelf stability. However, when push comes to shove, it can let you down exactly when reliability matters most. The problem begins with the fat content. Even after processing, the milk retains oils that slowly oxidize, leading to rancid flavors and unpleasant odors over time. This change happens gradually, and you may not notice it until the can is opened, when sharp, chemical-like tastes become obvious. Even a small dent can accelerate the breakdown. Once the can's inner lining is compromised, metal particles can seep in, adding metallic or sour notes. Recent findings suggest that evaporated milk generally stays safe for no more than 2 years if kept under optimal storage. After that, clear warning signs appear: dark yellow or brown coloration, curdling, and foul smells. Sourness or clumping means the contents are beyond saving. Once the can is opened, the countdown is even faster. Food safety guidelines limit refrigerated use to 3 to 5 days before bacterial growth makes it unsafe. During supply chain concerns and emergencies, many communities turn to evaporated milk for its adaptability. It can be reconstituted with water for drinking or used in baking and sauces. Yet recent consumer accounts describe opening long-forgotten cans only to find spoiled, separated contents that could not be salvaged. Even food experts caution against treating evaporated milk as a timeless storage option. If you plan to keep it in an emergency supply, store it in a consistently cool place. Handle the cans gently to avoid dents, and rotate them often. Otherwise, you may find yourself facing a spoiled, sour mess instead of the creamy base you expected. Hold up. If you're relying on your pantry to keep you safe, you need to hit subscribe right now. The next canned food on this list could already be sitting in your kitchen, and it's one of the fastest to go bad. Second, coconut milk. Canned coconut milk has earned a place in many kitchens as a versatile dairy-free staple with rich flavor. But despite its popularity, it is among the most unpredictable canned foods when it comes to shelf life. Food scientists explain that coconut milk is essentially a mix of fat and water, and this emulsion is naturally unstable. Over time, the fat separates and clumps while the liquid turns thin and watery. In warmer storage environments, the process speeds up, often resulting in waxy textures or soapy tastes that make the product unusable. Consumer reports highlight that unopened cans can still go bad if exposed to hot or humid conditions. Market analysts monitoring pantry staples have also noted that coconut milk is unusually prone to damage from dents. Minor seam stress can allow tiny amounts of oxygen inside, accelerating rancidity and creating sharp, unpleasant odors. Several brands have faced recalls in recent years due to packaging issues that caused leaks or contamination, underscoring how delicate these cans are compared to more resilient goods like beans or vegetables. Surveys show that many shoppers mistakenly assume coconut milk will last indefinitely on the shelf. In truth, most manufacturers give it a 1 to 2 year best buy period, and experts confirm quality often drops off well before that if conditions aren't ideal. Reports from families during storm seasons describe the frustration of opening a can during a crisis only to find spoiled, lumpy contents. Across consumer experiences, safety alerts, and recalls, the conclusion is consistent. Coconut milk doesn't endure nearly as long as its popularity suggests. For anyone stocking an emergency pantry, it's a risky bet. Coconut milk is particularly sensitive to time, temperature, and handling. The best practice is to buy it closer to when you'll use it. Keep it in the coolest spot available, and rotate it quickly instead of counting on it to hold up through long-term shortages. Third, cream of mushroom soup. Canned cream of mushroom soup is widely considered a pantry staple, but food safety specialists caution that cream-based varieties deteriorate far more quickly than broth-based soups. The main weakness lies in the dairy and fat content, which gradually break down, producing unpleasant odors and clumps. Laboratory testing in the past year confirmed that cream soups often begin separating well before their printed expiration, especially in warm storage conditions. Once separation starts, the liquid sinks to the bottom and leaves a thick paste on top, making it nearly useless as a recipe base. By 2023 and 2024, several supermarket chains revised their storage advice, recommending customers avoid keeping cream soups longer than 18 months. They explained that dairy proteins destabilize quickly when exposed to fluctuating temperatures. Consumer news outlets reported on instances of cans that bulged slightly or released a sour smell upon opening, both clear indicators of spoilage. These accounts gained attention during supply concerns, when families discovered that their emergency stockpiles of cream soups had already spoiled. Industry analysts point to packaging as another culprit. Cream soups are generally packed in thinner cans than beans or meats, making them easier to dent. Even minor dents can compromise the protective lining, allowing metallic flavors to seep in or bacteria to take hold. In late 2023, a recall underscored this risk after dented soup cans were linked to customer complaints of sour, metallic-tasting contents. Nutrition experts note that while the high sodium in these soups does help extend storage life, it cannot stop dairy fats from going rancid. Food blogs tracking inflation and pantry trends have warned readers to treat cream-based soups as short-term goods rather than dependable staples. Survival planning manuals published in 2024 echoed that guidance, emphasizing that broth-based soups endure much longer and make safer options for emergency storage. The overall conclusion from recent recalls, lab results, and consumer experiences is consistent. Cream of mushroom soup may be comforting and convenient when fresh, but it is unsuitable for long-term stockpiling. Without frequent rotation and cool storage, cans are likely to fail long before they're needed. Fourth, tomato sauce. Canned tomato sauce is one of the most common pantry items, yet new food safety findings show it is more delicate than many realize. The main issue is acidity. Tomatoes are naturally acidic, which helps prevent bacterial growth, but also gradually wears away at the can's inner lining. Over time, this leads to metallic flavors leaching into the sauce, and in some cases, gas formation that causes the lid to bulge. Food inspectors in 2024 warned that any swollen or dome-shaped can of tomato sauce should be discarded immediately, as it indicates unsafe contents. Industry costs observed that tomato products stored in heat lost quality twice as fast as those kept in cool pantries. Many households who stockpiled during shortages later discovered that within a year, much of their supply tasted flat or unpleasant. Retailers also reported a rise in complaints about dented tomato sauce cans. Even minor dents can expose the inner metal to acid, triggering spoilage. In late 2023, grocery chains across the US and Europe issued reminders that dented tomato products should not be sold or stored. Soon after, a regional recall was announced when defective seams in tomato-based sauces caused leaks and contamination. Nutrition writers point out that tomato sauces with added herbs, garlic, or oils are even less stable than plain varieties. The fats in these additions oxidize quickly, accelerating flavor loss. Updated survival guides in 2024 stressed that while tomato sauce is valuable for stretching staples like pasta, beans, or rice, it must be cycled more frequently than most canned foods. They recommend using and replacing cans within 12 to 18 months, rather than relying on them for multi-year storage. The overarching message from recalls, advisories, and consumer experiences is unmistakable. Tomato sauce remains a versatile and essential pantry item, but only with careful storage and steady rotation. Tomato sauce may be a trusted kitchen basic, but its natural acidity, added seasonings, and sensitivity to storage conditions make it more fragile than many assume, unless cans are rotated regularly and kept under ideal conditions. The one you are depending on could spoil just when you need it most. Fifth, pumpkin puree. At first glance, canned pumpkin puree seems like one of the most secure pantry items. Yet food safety authorities warn it is more fragile than it appears. Unlike tomatoes or fruit preserved in syrup, pumpkin is low in acidity, meaning it lacks natural protection against spoilage. Updated storage guidelines from 2023 and 2024 note that while canned pumpkin can last up to 2 years, its quality often deteriorates much sooner if kept in warm or humid places. Retailer reports from last fall described customers returning cans that had darkened in color or developed sour smells months before the printed best buy date. Food safety bulletins have also underscored the dangers of dented pumpkin cans. Because puree is thick and dense, even tiny cracks in the lining can allow bacteria to grow in hidden pockets that heating during processing cannot fully eliminate. In 2023, a regional recall was issued after cans of pumpkin were found swelling, raising contamination concerns. Experts stress that bulging lids or leaking seams are immediate red flags and should never be consumed. Consumer organizations monitoring pantry stability during inflation have raised concerns about how quickly pumpkin loses flavor and color. Tests in 2024 showed that after roughly a year, bright orange puree often fades into a dull brown, with the taste shifting toward bitter earthiness. That change makes it unsuitable for holiday baking or soups, where pumpkin is meant to add sweetness and richness. Food bloggers covering seasonal shortages have shared accounts of families opening older cans only to find watery separation and clumps that could not be smoothed out. Nutrition specialists now recommend rotating pumpkin more aggressively than most canned goods. While beans or basic vegetables often last for years without serious decline, pumpkin should ideally be replaced annually. Survival manuals updated this year repeat that message, cautioning that relying on years-old pumpkin during an emergency risks leaving you with spoiled food and wasted supplies. Collectively, news coverage, recalls, and consumer reports all point to the same conclusion. Pumpkin puree is useful for cooking, but unreliable for long-term storage. Without careful rotation and cool, steady conditions, it is among the most likely cans to fail when needed most. Sixth, canned ravioli. Canned ravioli has been promoted for decades as an easy, comforting meal. Yet food safety updates from 2023 and 2024 identify it as one of the least dependable canned goods for long storage. Unlike simple beans or vegetables, ravioli combines pasta, sauce, and often meat or cheese fillings, each of which introduces vulnerabilities. Tomato-based sauces are acidic and gradually corrode can linings. Meat and dairy fillings add fats that oxidize, producing sour or rancid flavors long before the expiration date. The pasta itself absorbs liquid over time, causing the texture to collapse into mushy clumps that can be unappealing and even unsafe. Consumer Reports last year noted that dented ravioli cans are particularly concerning. Even a small dent near the seam can permit oxygen entry, which fuels bacterial growth and hastens spoilage. During food shortage concerns in 2024, several grocery chains reminded shoppers that swollen or leaking ravioli cans should never be consumed. A recall in late 2023 reinforced the risk after improperly sealed pasta meals caused swollen lids and complaints of spoiled contents. Analysts following food trends during inflation observed a rise in customer complaints about canned pasta products failing sooner than expected. Bloggers covering emergency stockpiling reported families opening ravioli cans after only 18 months and finding foul odors and off flavors. Nutritionists emphasize that added seasonings and preservatives in ravioli provide no guarantee of safety beyond a short period, especially when cans are exposed to higher summer temperatures. Current food safety guidelines from 2024 recommend rotating canned ravioli within 1 year and avoiding storage in garages, sheds, or pantries near heat sources. Survival planning resources caution that ravioli is a misleading comfort item in long-term stockpiles. It may look like a ready-made meal, but it spoils far quicker than simpler, more stable canned staples. Families who stocked up on cases of ravioli during shortages often ended up discarding much of it because the contents had spoiled. The pattern across recalls, news coverage, and food safety advice points to the same conclusion. Canned ravioli is handy in the short run, but it deteriorates quickly. Unless it is stored in cool conditions and rotated on a strict schedule, it is one of the canned meals most likely to fail at the exact moment it's required. 7th, sardines in oil. Canned sardines in oil are frequently advertised as a powerhouse food. Nutrient-rich, portable, and convenient. Yet updated findings from 2023 and 2024 repeatedly show that these cans are among the first to lose quality when stored long-term. The primary weakness lies in the oil. Scientists explain that the omega-3 fats in sardines are highly unsaturated, meaning they oxidize very easily. Even in a sealed can, trace amounts of oxygen can slip through tiny seams and gaps, triggering rancidity long before the printed date. Consumer testing groups warn that rancid oil isn't just unpleasant in flavor. It produces compounds that can upset the stomach and cause nausea. A 2024 household survey revealed that nearly 1 in 3 families who stored sardines for 2 years or more encountered metallic flavors or bad odors when opening them. These findings align with official advisories that recommend keeping sardines in oil for no more than 1 to 2 years under cool storage, and for a much shorter window in warm environments. Dents add another layer of risk. The enamel lining inside sardine cans is easily damaged, and once it's breached, the oil and fish contact exposed metal, accelerating spoilage. In 2023, a European recall traced contaminated sardine cans back to dent damage after consumers reported bulging lids and sour smells. Soon after, U.S. supermarkets issued warnings urging customers to avoid swollen, leaking, or rusted cans altogether. Flavored sardines are even more unstable. Versions packed with chili, lemon, or tomato introduce acids that wear away at the lining faster. Cutting down shelf life. Food bloggers documenting pantry failures noted that these flavored varieties often went bad within a year, far sooner than plain sardines. Industry analysts also reported that cans stored near heat, like above stoves or in garages, failed twice as often as those kept in cool, dark pantries. Nutritionists and survival planning guides published in 2024 now recommend rotating sardines quickly, and when possible, choosing water-packed varieties, which tend to be sturdier over time. While sardines remain an excellent emergency protein source, their oil makes them one of the most delicate canned foods. Without strict rotation and proper storage, they are highly likely to spoil right when you're relying on them most. 8th, canned fruit in syrup. Canned fruit in syrup often seems like a safe bet for long-term storage, but food safety updates over the past 2 years reveal that it spoils sooner than many expect. While the sugary liquid does provide some preservation, the natural fruit acids gradually react with the can lining. Over time, this causes a metallic aftertaste and dulls the fruit's sweetness. In warmer conditions, the syrup itself can darken and take on a caramelized or bitter note, leaving the fruit mushy and discolored. Consumer Reports in 2023 documented cases where canned peaches, pears, and pineapple developed off odors or turned brown well before the printed best buy date. Several grocers confirmed a rise in customer returns, especially during summer months when storage temperatures run high. Food safety specialists stress that dented fruit cans are especially risky because syrup is heavy and sticky, making it easy for bacteria to grow in tiny breaches along seams. In fact, a regional recall in 2024 involved canned peaches after swelling lids were linked to syrup fermentation inside the cans. Nutrition experts explain that, unlike beans or vegetables, canned fruit loses both texture and flavor quickly after a year. The flesh becomes mushy, while the syrup loses clarity and sometimes separates into watery and thick layers. Food bloggers writing about holiday shortages noted that families who relied on old cans of pineapple or fruit cocktail often found them unappealing or unsafe when opened. Guides on emergency stockpiling now recommend treating canned fruit as a short-term item, rotating it every 12 months instead of leaving it untouched for years. While it can be a refreshing source of calories and quick energy, canned fruit in syrup is one of the pantry items most prone to decline if not replaced regularly. 9th, canned chicken. Canned chicken is often stocked for emergencies because it provides ready-to-eat protein, but safety bulletins from 2023 and 2024 show it has a much shorter reliable shelf life than most people assume. Unlike beans or vegetables, meat products introduce fats and proteins that break down rapidly in storage. Over time, the oils in canned chicken oxidize, giving the meat a sour, rancid smell even before the can reaches its best-by date. The texture also changes. The meat often becomes stringy, mushy, or discolored after a year or two. Consumer watchdog groups reported a rise in complaints last year about canned chicken that smelled metallic or sulfurous when opened. Food safety labs confirmed that dented meat cans are especially hazardous because any crack in the inner lining can allow bacteria to take hold, particularly in dense proteins where heat from processing may not fully penetrate. In fact, a recall in mid-2023 involved canned poultry products that showed swelling lids and signs of gas buildup, classic indicators of contamination. Storage conditions make a big difference. When kept in warm garages or near heat sources, canned chicken deteriorates twice as fast as it does in cool, stable pantries. Nutrition experts emphasize that while sodium and preservatives do help extend shelf life, they cannot prevent fats from turning rancid or proteins from breaking down. Once opened, leftover canned chicken must be refrigerated and eaten within 2 to 3 days, making it impractical for prolonged emergencies. Survival planning guides published in 2024 caution against treating canned chicken as a long-term staple. They recommend rotating stock every 12 to 18 months and relying instead on more stable proteins like beans, lentils, or freeze-dried meats for extended storage. While convenient in the short term, canned chicken is one of the most perishable animal-based canned goods, often failing well before people expect. 10th, canned chili. Canned chili is often marketed as a hearty, shelf-stable meal, but recent safety updates show that it's one of the canned foods most prone to spoilage over time. The reason lies in its complex composition. Chili typically contains meat, beans, tomato sauce, spices, and often added fats, a combination that accelerates chemical breakdown. The tomato base's acidity gradually corrodes the can's inner lining, while the fats oxidize, producing sour or rancid aromas long before the printed date. At the same time, the meat proteins can degrade, changing the chili's texture from thick and hearty to watery or grainy. Consumer surveys from 2023 and 2024 reported that many households who stored canned chili for more than 18 months found off-putting smells, strange metallic tastes, or visible separation when they opened it. Food safety inspectors also warned that dented chili cans pose a greater risk than most other canned goods. Because chili is dense and rich, bacteria can thrive in microscopic breaches, where heat from processing may not fully reach. A widely reported recall in late 2023 stemmed from improperly sealed chili cans that swelled and leaked, raising concerns about possible contamination. Storage conditions have a significant impact on chili's longevity. When cans are exposed to heat, such as in garages, near stoves, or in uninsulated storage areas, the oils and proteins break down far faster. Some nutrition experts note that added ingredients like cheese or bacon bits, found in many chili varieties, make the product even less stable by introducing extra fat and moisture. Food safety guidance now advises rotating canned chili within 1 year for best quality and never keeping it beyond 18 months. Survival manuals published in 2024 echo this advice, warning that chili may seem like a complete meal in a can, but it's far less reliable than simpler staples. Without frequent rotation and cool, controlled storage, canned chili is likely to spoil right when you're relying on it most. Hit that subscribe button today, because the best time to prepare was yesterday and the second best time is right now.